Yeah, hello viewers. You're welcome to yet another very important segment of our health talk show. And my name is Pius Athony. Today we're going to delve into a multifaceted nature of addiction. It's something that affects everybody, especially the youth. Young people like us, we are affected. And today we're going to delve into it. Whether you are personally affected by it or you are simply trying to have knowledge about it, you are at the right place at the right time. And to help us digest this, it's not the person, but our own medical doc, Victor Loglo. Did I get it right?
Thank you.
Oh,
You got
that's
it
great.
right. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, you
Doc,
did.
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
How have you been?
I've been good.
It's
I've
been
been okay. Yeah. How about you?
I'm also doing great.
Great.
I can see you
Great.
looking good too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So today we're going to delve into something that is of great importance. I mean, to the young people of this country, over some days now, it has been in the news. I don't know whether you've heard this before. They said, "Who didn't read?" That was what an MP asked the Speaker of Parliament the other
Okay.
time, and it's just talking about addiction. And I want us I want you to help us. I mean, explain, have a proper expose on addiction. What is addiction? When you say addiction, what it is?
Okay. So, addiction. Addiction is it's a complex and complicated psychological disorder. Okay.
Okay.
Simply put, I'll just make it very, very simple. Addiction happens when one becomes dependent on a substance
Okay.
or a certain activity, a certain behavior, in a manner that it becomes harmful to the person, but it becomes also very hard to stop.
Wow.
So any form of substance, activity, anything that you do, that your doing of it becomes harmful now to you. And even though you know that this is very harmful, this is affecting your life, you still find it difficult to stop.
When you say harmful, I had a friend during national service. I
Yeah.
had one young man who, in fact, he was broke. That day I had to do the cooking so that he would eat. This guy said he's going to watch football. He had 50 pesos. He made his way there to watch the ball at the
Yeah.
expense of his stomach.
Wow.
Do we call that also an addiction?
Great. So when we say harm, okay, when we say something is causing harm to your life, we are talking about the thing affecting what makes you a human being, your social connection, your relationship, your being a person. So we look at it in some aspect. For instance, number one, if it's affecting your finances,
Okay.
finances is one. Two, your relationship.
Okay.
If it's affecting your relationship. Three, if it's affecting your work.
Okay.
Okay, your work. Four, if it's affecting your self-care or your wellness, your well-being,
Okay.
or your health.
Okay.
You get it. So if you realize that there's a particular thing you are doing that is making you spend too much money that you're not able to get enough money to do other things in your life, your finances,
Okay.
then you are becoming addicted. If it's affecting your relationship in terms of your relationship with your family, your friends, you see that you are always withdrawing yourself, or you are always the one that is always having misunderstanding with people here and there, or you are the one that is not able to take responsibility for what you are supposed to do, either as a worker, so you end up sleeping too much at workplace, or your responsibility as a parent, you are not able to do it, or your responsibility as a student, any form, your relationship, if it affects your relationship, then you are becoming addicted. What else did I say? Your health and well-being.
Okay.
So fitness, if it's you realize that it's having an effect on how you look like, it's having an effect on how you feel, it's having an effect on the things you used to do to stay fit, but now you realize that you cannot do them anymore.
Wait. I go to the gym every day.
Okay.
Is that an addiction?
Oh, yes.
I'm looking good. You know, you hit the gym, you lift some metals, you get your
Great.
arm looking good, and
Great.
then your body also releases that. What's the name of that chemical?
Dopamine.
Dopamine, and you feel good. I mean, is that also an addiction? Can also be classified as an addiction?
So, do you want us to go there?
Oh, just briefly.
Because let's go there, because that takes us to the next level.
Okay.
So the next level is name everything, every activity, every substance that we take. We have natural reward system in our brain.
Okay.
Okay. We have natural things in our that when we do, we feel that pleasure.
That
we
gratification.
feel satisfied. We feel motivated. We feel energized. We feel happy.
Okay.
It can be food. Okay.
Somebody can be addicted to food.
No, I'm just
Okay.
I'm just taking it easy. Like we'll get there.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is that exercising, going to the gym may not be addiction.
Okay.
So first of all, you need to understand that we have what we call natural reward.
Okay.
Natural reward. Our daily, when we were born, we're born into innocence. We're born into love. We're born into a social connection.
Okay.
When we're born, you have everything. You have a family that is already owning you without you even saying that, can I be your
son.
daughter or your son or something? You know, that is there. So when you are given food as a child, you feel it that, oh, this is really nice. When you receive a hug from a family member or something like that, when you ask, Daddy, I want this for Christmas, I want this for that, and you are giving, you realize there's a certain feeling of fulfillment when you are sent to go and buy something, when you're able to buy what you were asked, and then you feel the satisfaction. If you wake up and you are able to sweep, you feel that these are like natural rewards.
Okay.
It's a natural reward we have.
Okay.
So everything we do, like I said, food, affection, okay, affection. So with your friends, with your partner, there are certain level of reward or enjoyment or satisfaction or pleasure you feel within.
Okay.
So this thing that you feel, scientifically, what happens in your brain is that there is this chemical, okay,
Okay.
that is responsible for you feeling like that. And that is called a dopamine.
Okay.
Dopamine is suddenly released in your brain.
Okay.
Once, you are exposed to these things. The food, the affection, the sight, all the things you do, your achievements.
Okay.
Now, when the dopamine is released, there is a level, there is a baseline to which it's supposed to reach for you to feel the reward system.
Okay.
So everybody has that baseline. It's a very, very minimal level. So with the least thing you do, you are happy. You are just laughing. You are just,
My brain is traveling somewhere.
Exactly. But yes. Oh, like the normal thing. Sex is supposed to just make you feel a certain level of that excitement.
My God.
It's a baseline.
Okay.
Everybody has that. However, when you overdo any of these things that we've said,
Okay.
so much that so because you see what happens is that if you do one, okay, the effect takes time to occur.
Okay.
But if you have to shorten the desire and then the effects by increasing the frequency or increasing the intensity.
Okay.
So either the frequency, doing it more frequent, or that one time you did it, it was too much intense.
Okay.
What will happen is that the dopamine will cross the baseline. It will go up, it will peak. And once it peaks, the baseline that you had all this while also readjusts. It's also shift up.
Okay, so quick. I remember the first time.
So if you can let me complete it so that you will.
Okay, please do.
So what happens is that now that the baseline has gone up,
A new standard is set.
so it means that same thing you did one to some level that you just after that rise now you're able to get excited. Now you need to do it extremely more
to
be
get
able to get the
then,
excitement.
so that means you have set a new level.
A new level for
and
yourself.
to get to that new level, you have to put in more effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is what happens.
Okay.
So you think you were doing the normal gym and all that, but the moment you have to do it more frequent, repetitively, in a way that it will keep you constantly excited.
Okay.
Now, if you were just excited, we don't call it addiction. But it becomes addiction if it is now having a negative effect on you.
Okay.
And you know that it's having a negative effect on you. Or it is obvious for the people around you. However, you cannot stop it. Then it becomes an addiction.
Okay.
So if you are able to control yourself with your gym, and then nobody complains, you're able to do your normal thing as a father, as a brother, as a worker, and it doesn't affect anything, that is not addiction yet.
Okay.
But it becomes addiction if it is having a negative effect on you. You are lifting a metal, you are getting muscle sore, you get home tired, you get to work tired, you are always sleeping at work, it's affecting your productivity, or you are overly feeling confident and throwing your weights about on the street, and anybody who does, hey, I'm a bole, I'll beat you.
Macho man.
And you see, now it's affecting your social, your relationship.
Okay.
Now you become addicted to it.
Okay.
You get it? So,
I get you.
and then you realize that you cannot do anything about it. Addiction cages you. It puts you in a cage. It puts you. So, sometimes people think addiction is a moral weakness. Like, oh, it's because you are not you are a weak Christian. You are a weak Muslim. I don't know if there's something like a weak traditionalist.
Oh well, that I can tell.
No, addiction is not a moral issue.
Okay.
Neither is it that you are a failed man. If anybody is going through any form of addiction right now and is watching, it has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Addiction happens as a man's way, like it was a man's response or reaction to a social disorder.
If you can throw light on that.
I'll go back to that. Because what I'm telling you is very, very important.
Okay.
Somebody is stranded in masturbation, pornography, and I was like, like Paul. The things I want to do, I'm not able to do.
Now
I don't want to do. That's what I now do.
You're a preacher man.
Oh, wretched man I am.
Preach on.
So it has nothing to do with you failing morally or like you being a sinner.
Okay.
Or not.
Okay.
It is a response to a social disorder. Wow. So, I told you about the things that we get exposed to when you are growing up. At every level of your life, there is a certain social connection you need to get.
Okay.
At any moment that thing is stolen away from you, either you were traumatized, you were neglected, you were isolated, you were not given a certain normal basic thing that everybody needs to get. You start to find, so now that's a gap. So you now start to find a replacement to fill that gap for you.
Doc, we look at people and we say they have everything in life.
Yes.
Yes, still those people also have addiction.
Yes, because there is a certain component of their social connection, upbringing that they are supposed to have. And the very moment that thing is missing in their life, that is when they replace it. So I'll give you one typical example.
Okay. So
we have a young man whose dad may be a lawyer or a doctor. So the parents, they have it. They have the money.
Okay.
However, they don't have time for their children. And then they leave their children to mates in their house. That father relationship is missing.
Okay.
So they start to learn from their peers. They start to now be addicted to their games, their television.
Okay.
They start to find more satisfaction or pleasure with it because mommy and daddy are in home. But to you, you say they have money. They have all that it takes. No, there's a social disconnection.
So there's a gap over there.
There's a gap. So it is your small way of trying to fill the gap that society failed to give to you. But as we move on, you get to understand that society is not all. We have other things that may bring a gap. So we have a model called the biopsychosocial model. Okay.
Biopsychosocial model.
Yes. So the biopsychosocial model is a holistic, way of approaching health, disease conditions and health and well-being in general.
Okay.
And it states that there are certain factors that are interconnected in ensuring that one is healthy. Okay. And it includes the biological, psychological, and social factors.
Okay.
Now, this is what we used to know all this while in people, who have scientific discourse
into all those
in
things.
this area. But now, down the lane,
Okay.
they've improved it. Now we have biopsycho-socio-spiritual model. So there's a fourth member in the system.
Oh, Doc, hold on. The last time you were here, you
Yeah.
told me, do you recall that, Pius, everything can be explained by science, and if it's not this, then it must be research into. Now you are talking spiritual today.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we talk about the spiritual, maybe before, let me start with the biological, the psychological, so that you come to understand. But what I want you to, whilst we are discussing this, understand that any gap in these things will let the person try to fill the gap by bonding to something else, which the person may eventually get used to overdoing it. That will lead to an addiction.
You mean these four things?
That we are about to explain.
Psycho, social, spiritual.
Exactly.
Okay.
You get it? So they may create a gap. Then the person has to fill in the gap.
Okay.
And then that is what may result in addiction. So the first thing is your biological. Biological is talking about your genetics.
Okay.
Family history of an addiction. If you are somebody who has this biological things, there's a family member who had it, was struggling with it, you have a higher chance of also dealing with addiction later in your life.
Wait. My grandfather used to be a chain smoker.
Yeah.
I've never tasted cigarette before.
Exactly. So, you are pushing me into the 4 P's. Okay, I'll do that in 1 minute. So there are 4 P's, okay?
Okay.
In this case, okay? So we have the predisposing factors, we have the precipitating, we have the perpetuating, and we have the protecting factors.
Okay.
So the predisposing is this genetic things we are talking about in family history. You may have it, you may not have it. But if you have it, all you need is a precipitant. All you need is something to precipitate it. It can be a bad news. It can be a broken heart. It can be unemployment issue. It can be a neglect.
So
trauma.
the precipitating is like something to trigger it.
And then it's triggered.
Okay.
So it was just waiting, sitting down, Boko, in your system or in your system, waiting for something to trigger it, and that becomes the precipitating factor.
Okay.
Then we now have the perpetuating factor. So after you get it, if you don't have systems to help you recover from it, like for instance, if you find yourself among friends who also enjoy the smoking, who also enjoy that certain habit, they keep promoting it. Yo, you are the man. Keep sleeping around with the girls.
Okay.
You are the man.
Yeah, man.
Or they are betting and they are always talking about this team and that team. Hey, he made 200,000. Why not? That perpetuates it. You keep on doing it because you find yourself
among
in that
friends.
environment. Okay, so then we have the protecting factor. So if you have family, if you have friends, if you have spiritual guidance, something that kind of, prevents you from getting exposed and going back to it. So that explains your grandfather thing. So the fact that your grandfather had it doesn't necessarily mean that you will have it.
Okay.
However, if you had that prior predisposing factor inside you, certain trigger can trigger it.
Okay.
That is not your end. If you have protecting factors like family, friends, if you have resources, access to resources, if you have access to healthcare that can help you, you can recover. If you don't have these things, you keep on going and going and going. So that is for the biological.
Yes.
When we talk about the psychological, we are talking about the person's belief system. We're talking about, no, not the belief. We're talking about the person's, emotions, okay?
Okay.
Your emotions, your, we talk about your feelings, okay?
Okay.
Your cognitive, your memory. This is psychological.
Okay.
Then when we talk about the social, we're talking about your connection,
Okay.
among people. So your family, your friends, your partner. These things can affect, the way you do things. When we talk about the spiritual,
Yes.
that's when we talk about your beliefs. We
Okay.
talk about your culture.
Okay.
We talk about your values.
Okay.
So not necessarily just faith. Faith is just one component of spiritual.
Okay. Well, viewers, you just heard a part of today's program with Doc. We're going to delve deep into it. We're going to talk about the types of addiction. What are the types? We'll talk about what the causes or the effect it can have on you. And finally, we'll talk about the management system. So stick and stay with us as we continue to discuss this all-important topic. Doc, back to you. What are the types?
Great. Thank you.
Addiction?
So addiction can be categorized into two forms, okay?
Okay.
Two types. So we have substance addiction
Okay.
and we have behavioral addiction. This is very simple. It's self-explanatory.
It's not explanatory. Please, just delve into it.
So when we take the substance,
Yeah.
top two most notorious substance, alcohol, tobacco. Top two substance.
Top two.
Yes, they are like 50. When you talk about the substance part, first 50% is alcohol and smoking. Now we have other substances,
Okay.
which makes the remaining 50%, which includes prescribed medications.
Please, this particular one is very, very, very keen to me.
This is not supposed to be like a bad thing. Prescribed, like morphine.
No, you said prescribed medication.
Yeah, prescribed medication.
That is what the people are actually abusing now.
Yes.
That's what they are addicted
So,
to.
like you got sick, you got an injury, and then we had to give you an injection of morphine, tramadol, petidine. If you decide to overuse it, either overdosing or over frequenting it, okay, you can end up tipping off into addiction.
No, what is in those prescribed medications that causes that? And
It is not the medication that is causing it. That is the point I made before.
Okay.
So, and I thank you for bringing this in, because that's the point I want to clear in this our discussion today.
Okay.
That addiction, actually, it is not a medication problem. It is not the phone. It's not the porno. It is not the bets, which is the problem. There is nothing about it. But it is a gap that is in your life you are trying to replace. So, when we come to the management, you realize that for anybody to manage it, one of the things is to sit down and assess yourself. How did they start? There is always something that the person was trying to get. That is what, and most of them are social
Related,
issues.
okay.
So don't worry, we'll go there. Okay.
You talk about substance.
Now, substance. So we have prescribed medications. Then we also now have illicit medications. So the difference between the prescribed and then the illicit one is that you see the prescribed ones, if you take it one and it's in the normal dose, you don't have any issue. But the illicit medications, once you take the first one, you are going to react badly to it. So we're talking about heroin, cocaine, we're talking about the amphetamines, marijuana, these ones are illicit drugs.
What of red? Red.
Red is a street name, it's a street name for a mixture of substances.
No, it's just one.
Yes.
The tap is red. I understand.
Yes. And it depends on where you're getting it from, but I understand that it's tramadol mixed with other ones. So that is what addiction does to you. You first start with one.
Okay.
Then, because the threshold is up, for you to be able to
hit that
euphoria or that enjoyment again, then you have to either overdo it or combine it with other medications, other substances, so that you will now feel extremely high. So there are a lot of this.
Wait, this question, I don't think you would have the answer, but how did they get to even know that when you mix this and this, you get here? I just can't fathom.
It is one of the stages in addiction, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But what happens is that you start as part of the addiction process. Addiction is a process. It's not one day something. You get to a time when you start to invent.
Oh, I see.
You must survive at all costs. The survivor is to fill that vacuum, that gap, that space that was missing somewhere. So you will start to invent. You will start to do so many things. You will any way to be able to. There are times when the person will do the same thing they did the last time. They don't find pleasure in that because it has not hit the baseline. So they will have to add something more to it. That is when you see somebody smoke, drink on top, like, and the moment you get to this stage where you have to do so many things that it takes so much of your daily lifetime, your time, like your productive time, and it has all the effect on you.
Okay.
You should know that you are getting addicted. So there's a difference between a prescribed medication and the illicit medication. When you take the prescribed medications, it increases. You will find that relief from pain.
Okay.
Relief from emotional, pain or physical pain. You'll find it. However, it takes gradual. So when you are injected tramadol and things at the hospital, it doesn't mean as soon as they give it to you,
your pain will subside.
Nope. It will take time to build up.
Okay.
Even though it will be shorter, but it will take time to build up and to eventually come down. But when you come to the illicit medication, the moment you take it, within seconds, there is a peak.
No, does that mean the systems tend to digest it so quickly?
Exactly. So that is why they become illicit or illegal medication. They call them neuropsychotics.
So, Doc, you are talking about substance. So what actually happens that if they are just trying to get to that peak, what causes that? Then you see a young man, he's off.
Yes. Yeah, because what happens is that the dopamine is supposed to work on specific areas of the brain.
Okay.
However, the moment there is extreme mobilization, extreme number of dopamine in the system, it goes to bind on several places, and that includes your motion, the place for movement, the place for memory, the place for your mood, for your mood, for your feeling, for your cognitive function.
It affects a lot of things.
It affects a lot of things. So that is what happens. It just goes to bind on several areas of the brain, and then you will have the effect.
And then that's the effect that I was watching. He wanted to chisel something, the hammer, and he couldn't even get it right.
But mind you, they were not expecting to take it to be able to doze off. They are taking it to be able to feel that euphoria in their brain. Whatever is happening after, it's not what they were doing it for.
Whoa.
So they were doing it for what will happen inside there. The feeling of that reward. Ooh.
So do they really feel like that? Because just after taking it, they are sleeping.
Yes, they have felt it. And the brain, after they come back, say, oh, I need to go back. That was nice. I was in the heavens. It's the same as betting, bro. It's the same as betting.
Charlie, now
we'll come
you are
there.
shaking a table.
We'll talk about that.
Okay, so let's continue.
That falls in the behavioral.
Okay.
So obviously we have substance and we have behavioral.
Yes.
So in the behavioral, you can talk about every behavior. Every behavior that comes to your mind right now. Every behavior that is done, that it becomes harmful to you. The more you do that behavior, it becomes harmful to you. And that you are not able to help yourself to stop it.
What of
that behavior?
Masturbation.
Great. Masturbation is one. So, but there are more common ones, okay? More common ones. So we'll talk about them.
Do you mean masturbation is not common? Look,
I mean masturbation is one.
It's a silent one that nobody's talking about, yes.
Pornography is two.
Okay.
Sex is three. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sex is three. But this all three falls in one area, sexual pleasure, okay? So masturbation, pornography, Then we have gambling.
Okay.
Gambling in any form. The sport betting, any other form of gambling that we have. Gambling can become addictive. Video games.
Okay.
There are people who get addicted to video game. Social media, internet.
It's something on its own.
Yeah, internet use. We are a very sociable community. We feel free to have interaction with anybody on the streets, in the bars, in a car park. That is what makes African who we are. But the moment you realize that you are so fixated on your phone that you forget about the people around you.
I saw.
And if that is enough, fine. But now it is making you fall into an accident. Somebody will come and crash you. Now it's affecting your health. If you are able to do something about it, that's fine. But if you are not able to do about that, you are so fixed on it. You are gone on a date with a lady, or you are gone on a date with a guy, and all throughout the date, you are on your phone. You are so addicted. Like, you're just checking out. Bro, you are getting addicted to your phone.
I want to just say two things. I remember I went to the gym. A friend told me. I said, "It's a soccer bet." I said, I don't know how to bet. I don't even watch football." It's like, bro, don't learn it. Don't even
start it.
I said, why? He said, you are get addicted. So he was telling me that he was addicted.
Yeah.
And a lady also wrote on the status,
Yeah.
I either like you like my charger or dislike you like my bra. It tells you that lady, she's always on her phone. Believe you me? Yes, because she has to give you the charger.
Okay.
So she either likes you like her charger
I see.
or dislike you like her bra. Charlie,
Yeah.
this addiction is real.
So yeah, that's it. We can take them and talk about them in details, later. But you can pick any of them of your interest. Think about the betting. You start the first one. Mind you, I'm telling you, people don't just bet because they enjoy the betting. It's not because, but it is because they want to fill a certain gap in their life from the outcome, the proceed that will come out of it.
Okay.
That is what starts. Then you say, I'm just trying to make some small money. Then after you do the first one, it goes through, they give you a bonus. Like, whoa, it's possible.
Look how you're mentioning bonus. Check like you said you do small.
We see the advert all the time.
I don't know anything about that.
We see all the advert all the time. They'll tell you,
I don't know
take my
anything
promo
about
code and blah, blah, blah. And I know that is going to be a trap.
Okay.
Anyway, but like as I said, somebody can be doing the same thing, but the person will not be addicted.
Okay.
Somebody can do all these things we've met. Somebody can be masturbating and it's not addicted. Somebody can be watching pornography and it's not addicted.
Okay.
I'll give you one experiment that was done in the 70s.
Okay.
That showed that it is not actually the substance nor the behavior, but there is something more.
Okay.
There was a professor by name Professor Alexander Bruce. So he did 2 trials. The first trial, he put a rat.
Okay.
This trial is called the rat pack trial.
The rat
pack. Yeah,
trial.
PARK, pack, like
Okay.
a park, like a playground.
Okay.
So the first one, he put the rats in a cage, one rat in a cage, and then exposed it to a bottle containing just water and a bottle containing cocaine. So water and cocaine, like mixed with the cocaine. The rats will be playing around. Sometimes will drink some water. But he observed that the rat was drinking more of the cocaine containing water
Okay.
than that of the normal water,
Okay.
to the extent that it overdosed and then died in the process.
Okay.
So he asked, is the problem because of the cocaine overuse or what caused it? Then he said, okay, let me test another way of handling it. Then he opened another cage, put in more than one, plenty of the rats inside there. He gave them food, gave them playground. That's why it becomes a rat pack.
Okay.
Playground, things that they can play with. They can have more sex, inside there. And then he still added the water and the cocaine solution over there.
Okay.
And then he observed that over the time, they spent more time playing among themselves, having more sex and all that. And they were drinking some water. Some at a point in time, they'll come and take some of the cocaine solution. However, they were not taking it more repetitively, compulsively, like they used to do before. And there were no overdose because they were too busy. They were too busy doing other things, playing around, having sex, enjoying their life around. So he realized that it was because of the vacuum in the other side.
Exactly what
they were left with no option. That is why. So that is what happened. I'm telling you, somebody can, think about this. If you've ever been sick before that you were admitted to the hospital and you were given any of the prescribed medication like tramadol, petidine, you were given that for almost 24, 48 hours, but it didn't come out of the hospital junkie.
No.
No, because it was for a certain purpose, a certain time. Life had to go on after.
Okay.
But the moment you have to now rely on it to fill a certain gap, pain relief, the pleasure, emotional relief,
Okay.
the confidence you will get out of it. Once you want to take it so that you can feel more of the euphoria you had,
Okay.
then it becomes an addiction.
So in this case, sometimes some people, it's just not good for them to even try in the first place at all.
And that is the
When
people
the
who
P-
have the first P,
Okay.
the predisposing for. This is before you do anything, first check your back.
So in ever we say I'm from the south. Okay.
Yeah.
They will tell you vinya know the home you're coming from before you keep company. So when
Exactly.
you have that at the back of your mind, you don't just go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you have such a history which predisposes you, you know that Charlie, there are people in your home with such addiction.
They are there.
Then you don't
You
even
have
try
a
it.
higher risk.
You have a higher
of-
risk
of-
of getting addicted. Okay, Doc, let's quickly talk about the management and then we wrap it up over there.
Okay, so before the management, give me some 5 minutes to talk about the addiction cycle, like how it
Okay,
happens.
so let's do that.
So the first one, what happens is an initial use, an initial exposure. Okay, initial use. So for everything that you are thinking about now, anything on your mind, you can just pick one thing and then we'll go through the journey with it. Pick anything on your mind. You don't need to tell me. Anything on your mind right now.
Yes, I have something in mind.
Okay, so same as the viewers, just pick anything and then we'll go through this. And
It can be alcohol.
anything. You can think
sex.
about sex.
It can be
If you are a sex addict.
okay. It can be what again? Bet.
Bets.
Okay.
Anything. First is the initial exposure. The first thing that exposes you to it. Sometimes it could be out of curiosity. You say, well, let me try this app. Let me see. Let me just
Aviator.
I want to see how the people who bet cry. Let me see.
Aviator. Your money is gone. Okay.
Okay. It could be curiosity. It could be peer pressure.
Okay.
Okay. So we are talking about the initial thing.
Yes.
Peer pressure, like you are among a certain kind of friends. Everybody is doing it. Everybody is talking about it, and you're like, okay,
Let me
Charlie,
also
I have
try
to
some.
try this. Or they laugh at you because you're not the man. That's why you are not doing
We
anything.
call it kose.
Uh-huh.
Say because
What this guy there? He be John, he be John.
If you chop the thing, one pair.
Chop that thing, then or you are among colleagues and you are always opening porn, and you can hear it. Oh, you can hear all the things.
All the morning.
And you're like, no way, I got to see this. That is the primary thing.
Okay.
Now there are people who can get this. And then there are other exposure, like let's say prescription by a doctor given to you, prescription for pain, for a mental illness already. All this is an initial exposure. Okay. Now, there are people who can just have this initial exposure and then walk on, not have anything. However, there are certain things that can increase your risk of further moving on from that level into an addiction.
Okay.
And these are the things you need to take note of.
Okay.
So that anything you have ever had an exposure before, you will know that, let's say, I'm likely to end up there. Or next time, you won't try doing certain things.
Okay, sure.
Knowing your risk.
Okay.
So the first risk, again, is family history.
Family
So
history.
it's very, very important. You always have to check, was there an alcoholic in my family? My dad? It tells you that if you also continue, you may one day become like him.
Okay.
You may one day become like that sibling, that uncle. So that's number one, family history. Number two, people with trauma or neglect.
Okay.
That explains the gap issue we're talking about.
Okay.
Anytime somebody goes through a trauma or neglect, they were disappointed by society, by people they trusted. They start to find a trust on the street. They find a trust in something. And in their bid to find a trust in that thing, they become addicted to it.
Okay.
So that is one thing. The other thing is family. Okay, if you are among a family or like a relation that permits that.
Are we still talking about the cycle of addiction?
Yes. So we are still on the initial exposure.
Okay.
We are now saying circumstances where just one exposure.
Okay.
So if you just try the same thing one day, or you try the drink just one day, and you were among friends and said, you see, this is what I was telling you about. You see how it feels? Yes, congratulations. Welcome to the table of men. Okay. This time around, next time we are going to drink. Now it's going to, continue because you are among a culture that promotes it.
Okay.
Second thing in the cycle is, so after your initial use.
Yes.
Okay, so after the initial use, we now move to misuse.
Misuse.
So that same thing you took one. Now you get to a level where you want to increase the frequency or overdose it. Okay. For many reasons. It could be because you want to feel the euphoria, you want to feel confident, you want to feel the energy, you want to feel happy, you want to feel pleasured, you want to feel certain pleasure. So you have to increase the frequency.
Okay.
Now, if it is a prescribed medication and then you increase the frequency, you will end up continuing to the next level. If you overdose, you end up, or you may die.
Okay.
But if it's an illicit drug, the moment you take one, you have already misused it.
Okay.
Do you get it?
I get you. When it's prescribed,
yes.
Then if you take more than necessary,
then that's misuse.
That's misuse.
Yes.
But for the illicit one,
once you take it once, it's a misuse.
Okay.
Cocaine, weed. Once you take it once, it's a misuse. Okay? So from the misuse, you move to tolerance. Then now the baseline increases.
Okay.
Your system has readjusted. So even though you've increased the frequency or you've overdosed, this time around you have to keep taking a higher dose of it frequently. So now it's a combination of the two, the frequency and to get to the excitement.
Okay.
So now that becomes a tolerance. Then now you get to a stage of dependency. The dependency is a stage where
you can't live without it.
You depend on it for your survival, for your being okay, living like a normal person, behaving like all is well. Without it, you cannot eat. You have to try PO before. Without it, so you see, there are people like that. They say, I have to first pass somewhere before I eat. Yes, you have become dependent on it now. Without it, they cannot eat.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that's affected their lifestyle and things. The moment it start affecting your normal lifestyle, including it takes too much of your time. Out of the 24 hours in the day, you are spending over 10 hours in the ghetto doing it, or hiding in your room the whole night. One hand is suffering. Oh.
One hand is suffering. I get you now.
It's suffering. You are blocking all, one bathing that you would have used 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
You are in the washroom alone,
30
fingering
minutes,
yourself, using the soap.
And blocking all the clocks in the restroom, with your babies, you spend the whole day checking for the scores and the betting. That moment, it affects your daily lifestyle. And it starts to have an effect on your health, biologically, psychologically, socially. That becomes the fifth stage. That becomes addiction. So initial use, misuse, tolerance, dependency, then we get to addiction. Then from addiction, you may, at a point in time, decide that I want to stop. So you seek for help or you make any effort to stop it, maybe after hearing the preaching, hearing somebody's story or something like that. But in the process of doing it, if it's not well done, you may end up relapsing. And that is the final stage. When you relapse, the cycle starts again. When you relapse, it doesn't mean that you have failed. It simply means that you didn't manage it well. So correct how you manage it. Okay. And it may end it.
So management, just touch on it briefly.
So on the management, there are three things.
Okay.
There are the things that you have to do as an individual. There are things that society has to do to help. Okay. There are things that, globally or the nation have to do to help with addiction.
You never mentioned spiritual in this one. No?
So when we talk about the society, you hear about the spiritual.
Okay.
But when we talk about you as a person, you need to sit down, assess yourself. Mind you, this is a person who cannot help himself. So we are not saying that judge yourself that I failed. I have been a sinner. I've been a bad Christian. I could not do this. This is not a time to judge yourself. Enough of that. The preachers are doing that job for you. Let them do that job for you. Your job is to ask yourself, what made me start going into betting? Who was I missing that I thought that no, betting is a solution? The moment you think, you'll find it. What made me go to join this gym thing at the first? What was I looking for? Was it about self-confidence? I was not feeling confident of my body. And so I felt like when I enter, I'll find a confidence. And now I've ended up overdoing it. Now the top is bigger than the small, the down. The down is bigger than the top. Or now it's taking the whole day of my life. Okay. You know, sit down. The moment you point one thing, it was self-confidence. Ask yourself, is there another way I can get this confidence? And start exploring that way. So first is no judgment, nothing. It's okay. You are like Paul. Oh, how wretched I am. The things I want to do, I cannot do. The thing I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing. Fair. However, what led me there? How can I? Then you start looking at alternative methods on how to correct that. Now, this method, you can know them, but single-handedly, you cannot change it.
That's where society comes in.
That is where society comes in. You need help. In this help, you need some from medical, you need some from family, friends, your workplace.
The church.
The church comes in. That is where the community, the social support. When you get to the hospital, there are several things we can do to help. It's not necessarily medication, even though we have medications for things that are medical. Like I said, if it's a drug abuse, we have its antidote and all that for you. So this, in a nutshell, is how to manage it. But remember that, as we said, once you do this to handle the addiction, you may go into a relapse. The moment you go into a relapse, like it will go down there one day. You see, it tells you that the management, something was missing. Either you use a wrong approach or you are trying to do it alone. Addiction cannot be fought alone. If you could do it alone, like you won it long time.
Even though you started alone.
Even though you started alone. But like I said, it was because the people around you failed you. So you're not alone, actually.
Doc, our time is fast spent. I wouldn't want to keep you here for too long again. I would want you to, that's your camera. I want you to look into the camera and talk to that young man, that lady that's addicted, that young man addicted to substance. Ladies are also addicted to substance now, and all the other addiction.
The people are addicted to social media.
Social media and the likes. Say a word to these people. Tell them there is hope. There is always a way out. I think subsequently we would look at how we can delve into these addictions one after the other.
It's a broad topic.
Yes, I will try and get a clinical psychologist to also join in so that we can delve in that. But Doc, just say a word to that young person out
there. Whoever is watching me now, that you have identified a certain behavior that you've been doing from this our discussion, and you think that I might be addicted to it, or you knew that you were addicted to something a long time even before this, and so it attracted you to watch this video. The first thing I want you to understand is that you have not failed morally. You have not failed as a man or as a woman. It is rather a certain gap that was created in your life. If you've tried ever to stop and you went back to it again, it doesn't mean you have failed. It is because you are working alone. Go out there, reconnect yourself to society. And if there is a community that has identified somebody going through addiction, reconnect with the person, and it will help them to recover. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc, and we really appreciate your time with us today. Viewers, you have heard it all. Today we spoke about addiction. So you're trying to get out of that addiction. One thing I'll recommend for you is to go to the church. I will not say mention the name of any specific church, but a Bible-believing church is one of the way. You heard him, spiritual. So we need to keep our lives balanced. So try as much as possible, get somebody who is well vexed in this. A man of God could be a clinical psychologist who can help you come out of this. Believe you me, the person you even seeing next door and thinking his life is perfect has his own addiction. I also have my own addiction. What is your addiction? Viewers, thank you so much. And it has been a nice time being with you. My name is Pius Athony. See ya.